Connection. For this next segment, we are going to be talking about some superstars in Summit County in the arena of food safety in our restaurant world. And here to tell us all about it are SARA Hopkins from the Community and Senior Center, Mike SPRY from the Sunshine Cafe, and Dan Hendershot, who is our Environmental Health Manager at Summit County. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so Dan, let's kick it off with you. Summit County Public Health and Environmental Health is part of that.
Yep.
So your team just recognized several restaurants, or what you might call a retail food establishment in your world,
You got it.
for excellence in food safety. Can you tell us about this program?
Yeah, I don't know how long we've been doing it, but it's been at least 10, maybe 12 years or so. You know, we go into the restaurants all the time and, oh, there's the health department. You know, we're not usually received very warmly. So I tell people this is the favorite day of the year for us, when we get to go out and honor places that are working hard, working hard not only to meet the regulations, but mainly to keep their customers from getting sick and having a good experience. And so the program was established. It's very, very strict. So we take all of our restaurants, and the first filter we apply is only restaurants, school kitchens, and groceries with delis are eligible. Places that we consider limited food or prepackaged food service, they're not eligible. That would be kind of like a coffee shop that doesn't really do much food, or a convenience store that has prepackaged candy bars. They're not eligible for obvious reasons. They're not doing food prep. So that's kind of the first filter that we apply. The second filter is really a tough one. We have critical violations and we have non-critical violations. And then we have the supercritical violations, we call them. They're the foodborne risk factor violations. There are, 16 of these. And these are the ones that are very likely to make people sick. So hand washing problems, cross-contamination, or refrigeration, cold and hot holding temperature control. And we look at the facility's last two inspections. They can't have any of those risk factor violations on their last two inspections. So we actually lose quite a few places with that filter. Then they can't have any probable foodborne illnesses in the last 12 months. That's usually pretty easy for people to make. We don't have a lot of foodborne illness outbreaks in Summit County, fortunately. And then the final filter is someone with active managerial control in the facility needs to have an 8-hour level food safety training certification.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And so when you're looking at the number of eligible establishments in Summit County, so how many licensed retail food facilities are there in Summit County?
Yeah, so we would start with 429 places. That sounds like a lot, right?
Yeah,
with a county that's only 30,000 people, but we have the infrastructure, the capacity to service 150,000 when we get really busy. So 429 places.
Okay. And then how many of those 429, so how many inspections is your team actually out there doing?
In the last 12 months, we performed 682 inspections. And so that includes the surprise visit, you know, that I was talking about. We're not always very well received. We have to do at least one surprise visit, and then sometimes we do a follow-up visit. Sometimes we'll call a place and say, hey, let's do a manager's consultation.
Okay.
And so it includes all of those types of inspections.
All right, great. And then of those 429 establishments, and then you've got 682 inspections, and then how many establishments were at the cream of the crop that received this Food Safety Excellence Award?
7.
Okay, so this
Like
is
I
an
said,
elite group.
Exactly. It's very, very strict criteria. So these 7 folks that earned the award this year have a lot to be proud of. We're very proud of them. It takes a lot of very, very hard work to get to that level. You know, if you're a one person show, yeah, I could see you achieving this. But a lot of these places have multiple employees, and you know, with staff turnover in Summit County, it's very difficult to achieve this level of scrutiny that we apply for this award. So we don't want to give the impression that all the other places are bad to eat at. That is not the purpose of this award. This is, like you said, this is really the cream of the crop.
All right, fantastic. And can you rattle off the 7 winners for us?
Yeah, so in no particular order, we've got Arby's and Silverthorne, Sunshine Cafe, of which Mike is representing, and Silverthorne as well, Noodles and Company, and I guess Dillon that would be. The Summit Senior and Community Center, which Sarah is representing, Taco Bell in Frisco, Kika Sushi, which is the sushi establishment within Whole Foods. It's kind of a separate entity there. And then Chimayo in Dillon.
All right, fantastic. Well, congratulations, Mike and Sarah. Job well done. Mike, can you tell us a little bit about the work that goes into achieving this level of recognition?
Well, really, there's quite a bit of work. I mean, one of the things I think it starts with is just trying to create a culture of food safety. We know every day that we're responsible for feeding our friends, neighbors, and guests up in Summit County. So just understanding that there's a really important component of that into what we do is where it starts. So, I mean, our leadership team knows that every interaction that we have with all of our staff members really has to be based in making sure that, we're leading by example, we're inspecting what we expect. So really it comes down to kind of building out an entire process for food safety expectation. So it literally is understanding what the regulations are, understanding what the liabilities are, but then how to make sure we also, have a proper level of service and a proper level of food quality for our customers, and make all that work together.
Excellent. So can you take us down into some of the processes and measures that you have in place at Sunshine Cafe, and maybe some examples of how you're day after day making sure that food safety is a high priority for all of your staff?
Well, with the culture of food safety, it really starts with training, making sure that we have a laundry list of these are the things that we expect everyone to know. So whether it's our front of the house service staff or our kitchen staff, we break their tasks down into individual components, and here are the levels of here are the different things that they need to know on a daily basis. They need to execute on a daily basis to be able to meet the expectations that Dan talked about. Every manager has a checklist. Every front of the house lead has a checklist. All of our back of the house leads have checklists as well on a time basis, as well as a process basis. Here's everything that needs to be done. So whether it's making sure that all of our sanitation items are routinely checked and monitored, so that the chemicals or the process is actually getting done what it's supposed to be done. Those are things that are done on a time-bound basis and a quantitative measure. Temperature, food quality, all of those things have a series of steps that we follow to make sure that it meets the expectations from a food safety standpoint.
Great. All right. So Sarah, from your perspective, what does it mean to, and what does it take to achieve excellence in food safety?
Well, I'll probably piggyback onto some of the things that Mike said. I think that it really does require a meticulous attention to detail and, really good communication with whoever's in and out of your kitchen. It's hard in a county like this where we do have a lot of turnover. I happen to have a lot of people who are volunteers. So sometimes you feel like a broken record, but really that's the key to success, is that repetition really builds retention for those that are working in your environment. And I think exceptional organization and attention to detail is really the key. And leading by example. I mean, I always try to say, do as I do, not as I say. So I try to kind of live by that rule of thumb.
Great. And so given all the work that goes into maintaining these kinds of standards, why do you go the extra mile to be at this level?
Well, several reasons. First of all, I feel like it's my personal responsibility to watch out for those that are going to be, the end users of the product that I'm creating. At the Community and Senior Center, of course, we do tend to serve what would be considered an at-risk or a higher risk population of people normally. So I feel personally responsible to those people and to our community that we have a reputation to uphold, and my reputation's kind of on the line. So I don't know, I mean, call me narcissistic, but that's important to me that, people know that they're coming to a place that's safe and that, upholds that standard.
Great. And so Dan, if folks are interested in learning more about this program or your food safety inspection program in general, how can they go about doing that?
Sure, yeah. So for starters, anyone can go to our website and look up their favorite facilities inspection report and look up that history. So you can just go to Summit County Environmental Health, and you'll click through a series of buttons, and then you can search for your restaurant. And we don't grade. A lot of times people think that they're looking for an A, B, or C, and we don't have that sort of system. We might in the future, but it's really just were you in compliance on this item or out of compliance on this item. And if folks need any help interpreting or discussing any of those inspection results, they can call us. The other thing I'd just like to point out is our primary role is inspecting commercial retail food establishments, but we're always here. We're always available to just help a citizen who's doing home food prep. Certainly you can get sick while eating and preparing food at home, and we're happy to help answer any questions that people might have just on their own home food prep processes. So.
All right, fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're there in person. You have a great team who has all sorts of expertise for people who are interested in ways to keep themselves healthy.
Yeah.
So a great resource there, and also on the website.
Yeah, we have lots of information on our website as well. Yep.
Fantastic. All right. Well, again, congratulations to Mike and Sarah and the other 5 establishments for all that you're doing to keep Summit County's residents and visitors safe and healthy all year round. And thanks to Dan and your team for all that you do to keep everybody safe and healthy as well. All right. We are going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what Summit County is doing to protect our environment and restore it from our mining history.